Please give a warm welcome to Kedem, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder, Zerto.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How great was that, right? By the way, for those who don't know, Tal also has a day job. He's a developer at Zerto. Please give him another round of applause. That was great, Tal. Thank you, everyone, for coming here. Welcome to Resilience Country. This is our largest conference ever, and I want to thank everyone here, all of the customers, prospects, partners, the press, the analysts. Thank you for joining us here in beautiful Nashville. But even more important, thank you for joining us in our journey for IT resilience, in our journey for building a world of uninterrupted technology. I want to extend a special thank you to our sponsors. You make it possible to put on this show. Really special thank you for our sponsors, and even more for our global sponsor, Microsoft, and our platinum sponsors, HPE, IBM, Navisite, and Exagrid. Thank you, guys. The theme for ZertoCON this year is resilience. And resilience is everywhere. Resilience takes many shapes. It takes many forms. And in the next hour, and throughout the entire conference, we will discuss resilience. We will discuss what it means to be resilient. We will discuss how can we become more resilient. So I want to do, before we dive into IT resilience, I want to dive into some additional aspects of resilience, because resilience is really everywhere. I see resilience in my own personal, in my own professional life. And before I go into that resilience, I wanted to actually talk about a very special guest that I have here. Talking about an entrepreneur, an innovator, someone who has been following my professional life throughout the entire thing and all the resilience it became. He's a person who taught me, and even more important, taught Oded, our chief architect, how to, and co-founder, how to code. And I'm talking about my father, Nadav Kedem. Thank you, Dad. Great for having you here. Now, here's watched Zerto as it grew from just 3 employees almost 10 years ago to 750 employees, 7,000 customers, almost 1,000 partners. Now, I wish I could tell you all it was all a smooth ride, all smooth sailing all the way. It wasn't. It actually required us to be very resilient. We needed to handle things we never even imagined would be possible. Things like growing sales, growing the product, support, competition, and just scaling the company at this scale required us to be resilient. And just like everyone here, the key to do it was agility. The key to doing it was being prepared. And when we are resilient, we cannot just survive these challenges. And believe me, there were a lot of challenges, but it really helped us thrive in the face of these challenges. And by thriving, it means that we have to deal with everything. But like everyone here, you deal with things, but you never lose focus of your core. And our core has stayed the same throughout the year. Innovation and customer focus. So resilience, like I said, it's everywhere, right? We see resilience in our employees. We see resilience in the community. So last year, when we had Category 4 Hurricane Florence, it was heading towards the Carolinas. There was no question that this is going to have a huge damage. And we've seen many Zerto employees, including local resident of the Carolinas, John Fleischer, that came to help, came to give time, came to give resources, and really help the community battle back and survive this big disaster of a hurricane. We've even seen some of our customers, some Zertonians that were affected the previous year by Hurricane Harvey, and they came to give back. They came to give back to the community. So I'm proud of our Zertonians, our families, and our communities. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Like I said, resilience is everywhere. I see the resilience in our customers. And in the last year, since we were all sitting together, or most of us were sitting together last year in ZertoCON, we've added many customers to the Zerto family. And today there are about 7,000 customers that use Zerto to be more resilient. And that number continues to grow. And we see these customers pretty much in almost every industry. And they're very different, but they do have some things in common. You all have some things in common. And one thing that I can say is common to everyone, and I'll use everyone, is that everyone is experiencing change and disruption. Our customers are changing, our markets are changing. We are facing challenges. We are facing security challenges. These keep growing every day. We are facing competitive challenges. We are facing challenges from Mother Nature. And if we don't have resilience, we cannot succeed. Resilience is key to the success of everyone here in the room. And we listen. And one of the things we've always been proud of, we listen to our customers. And when we say resilience, this is not just the IT resilience. Resilience is not an IT thing. Resilience is a big corporate initiative. This is how we build resilient companies. IT resilience is a piece of this. And we will hear today from a few customers about how their companies are becoming more resilient. So let's dive in a little bit into IT resilience. We've been talking a lot about IT resilience. So why is IT resilience so important these days? So first of all, we are going through this digital transformation. It is driving a fundamental change in everything we do. It changes the way we interact with our customers. It changes the way we interact with our employees. It changes the way we interact with our partners. It lets us be more productive, more agile, helps us remain competitive, but it doesn't happen by itself. There are a lot of things that have to happen. We need to modernize IT. We need to shift the focus of IT departments from maintaining the infrastructure. We cannot go on and just handle the infrastructure and maintain it. But really, the IT departments are becoming a key business enabler to really build the business strategic initiatives. This digital transformation is involved with very big investments, but it also comes with its own sets of challenges. For example, legacy tools are not really equipped to deal with that transformation. You have so many tools, each one is running in its own silo, most of them designed for the very static physical IT of a few years ago, not really built for this dynamic nature of IT today. They're not really built for the cloud. They are complex, they are difficult to scale, they cannot handle a lot of or cannot help us handle a lot of the new security challenges, like ransomware, like hacking, and they create a lot of manual labor. I would say that they are hardly adequate for keeping up with yesterday's needs, let alone today, and surely not tomorrow's needs. Now, to go digital, we also need new technologies, and the most important one is the cloud. And we are seeing enterprises everywhere adopting multi-cloud strategy, hybrid cloud strategy, and really modernizing the infrastructure, building what it takes to deliver business innovation. Now, don't get me wrong, cloud adoption is still at a very early stage. It's not something like most people will raise their hands and say, I've got 90% of my stuff in the cloud. It is in an early stage, but it is accelerating, and it is accelerating fast. And when we transition from legacy infrastructure to a modern, hybrid, multi-cloud strategy, that presents its own unique sets of challenge. Now, if we need to make things even more complicated, our users have not stayed the same. The user expectations today are very different than what they were 5 years ago. They expect a seamless experience, an online experience, an always-on experience. Now, this obviously applies to your external users. but it applies just the same to your internal users. Today, no downtime, zero downtime, that is the new normal. And there is no such thing as, right, I mean, I know we all have these, I've got a 4-hour SLA. Just imagine how things look if you're down for 4 hours, even on your internal applications. And then we look at data. Data has changed over the last years. Today, data is probably one of the most strategic differentiating assets in every company. So the cost of downtime is huge, and it is increasing. Cost of data loss, huge and increasing. We're seeing that in many companies, any business interruption, any data loss has a huge impact with big repercussions, usually going all the way up to the C-level. So now thinking about this huge transformation, a lot of change, new technology with zero tolerance for any downtime or data loss. So how can we handle that? Very simple answer. We need to build our IT to be resilient. And a resilient IT is an IT environment that can sustain any change. Now, it could be bad changes, right? So if a hurricane hits your data center, that's change, right? But also if an app gets broken, someone updated a version. And guess what? With the pace of innovation, that happens more and more these days. App is broken, that is a change. An app gets updated, that is a change. You have a security incident. Suddenly you go to your application and you really see that you can only access it after you pay someone several Bitcoins. Maybe, right? I mean, you don't know if that's a real person or if they'll do it. That's a change, right? If you want to move stuff to the cloud, that is a change. You want to move stuff just between your data centers because you just have to consolidate because you just had a big M&A event. That's a change. So IT needs to support any change and be resilient. Now, is that easy? No. But just think about it. When you do have it, this is a great capability for the business. It lets you innovate. It lets you change. And you know that if something bad happens, you have that safety net that just catches you and you can bounce right back up. So that really becomes even a competitive differentiator for us. Now, how do enterprises make themselves more resilient today? The reality is that they have several tools to accomplish that. They have tools of disaster recovery, right? So these tools really handle with the fact if I've lost a data center or a part of the data center and I cannot run my environments, I can simply resume my mission critical applications somewhere else and continue to run. Then you have your backup tools. These tools take periodic snapshots of your IT. Can be once a day, can be multiple times a day, with the purpose of going back in time. So now if you just broke an application, and breaking an application here, it doesn't matter if it's your developer's fault or if it's some hacker's fault, right? At the end of the day, if the application is broken, you can restore it to the past. Also, if you need to restore it for a long time ago, usually you get that call from someone in legal saying, hey man, we need to get this application as of 4 years ago because we have a lawsuit and we get this discovery and we want to actually win that lawsuit. So what do? You go back to your backups. Now, today we're also seeing some new types of tools. Tools that actually leverage the hybrid cloud for this resilience. Tools that say, okay, don't think about it the traditional way of one data center, one silo. Things like disaster recovery as a service. And you've seen many of the providers are here today. Things like backup as a service. Migration tools between these different on-premise, private, and public clouds. So we have all these tools, and these tools are making us more resilient, which we need. But they're also making our life more complicated. They need a lot of management. They need a lot of hand-holding. And I love talking to customers. Many people here know me for that. And one thing that I always hear pretty much from every CIO I talk to, what is it? We have too many tools. We have too many tools. We cannot train our people fast enough. We cannot integrate them fast enough. We just spend the time on that, and I would really want, and an initiative that everyone has is taking multiple tools and replacing them with a platform that can handle several use cases. This way they can deliver a seamless end-to-end user experience. They can manage their data. They can manage their applications. They can protect from downtime, protect from data loss. They can facilitate this migration into these complex cloud environments. Any of this sounds familiar to you guys? It should be, because last year I was here on a stage like this in beautiful Boston. By the way, better weather here. I think cold in May is something I'm not used to. And we made a promise. And you know, you have to keep your promises, right? We promised that we'll deliver on the future of backup. But we also said it is not going to be backup. It is going to be a new way, a better way to solve the backup use cases. Right? So we also committed to having that in early 2019. And indeed, we delivered. And I'm happy to say that last month, we announced the general availability of Zerto 7. Now, what does Zerto 7 let you do? It gives you the ability to protect your important applications from disasters. It lets you recover them back in time in case of any corruption. It lets you retain these copies efficiently for many, many years. And it lets you move these workloads effectively across geographies and across clouds. And it all comes with orchestration, with automation, and with the analytics that you're used to in the Zerto product. This is a real resilient IT resilience platform. And as we said, a resilient IT is the core for a resilient company. Now, we usually think about it, in this conference, we usually talk to you guys as software producers, as IT vendors, but we're also customers. And everyone here is both a company that produces something and a customer. And as customers, we experience resilience firsthand. And I want to share with you a great example of a company that I personally spent a lot of time with. Probably spend more time with that company than I spend with my family. And I'm talking about United Airlines. Right, so I spend maybe 4 days on average a month on their planes. They even got me here. Really. And I know their product very well. I know their services very well. I know how they react to change. I see that firsthand, how they react to change. And I see how they evolve as a business. And very important, I see how they act as one of Zerto's most interactive customers. They use Zerto across so many use cases. They keep pushing the envelope more and more. And they are being a great partner to us and help us improve. And for that, I would like to invite United Airlines, Julieta from United Airlines, to the stage to receive our first IT Resilience Excellence Award for 2019. Thank you, Julieta. And she will now stay to talk with our Chief Marketing Officer, Gil Evonine.
Thank you for joining us, Julieta, here.
Of course.
We're very, very proud of this relationship and having you here in Nashville. I hope United got here safely.
Yes, of course.
You know, Ziv talked about resilience is everywhere, and he mentioned specifically how United as an airline is faced with a lot of resilience challenges that are way beyond IT. It's kind of like it's an operation, it's a global operation with lots of moving parts, lots of influence by weather, by other things. I think we wanted to show us something about that, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a series called Big Metal Bird that is publicly out there on the internet. We brought one of them with us to kind of show you how resiliency is just table stakes now, and for an airline, global airline, 24/7, with safety as our key core. I think this is a great example of how we maintain resiliency through operation.
Let's play the video.
Hey guys, I'm at the Denver International Airport. It's 30 degrees, the snow is on its way, and the wind is getting crazy. Whew.
Rain, snow, ice, fog, freezing temperatures, Mother Nature is a force to be reckoned with. But so is the weather team at United. From their Network Operations Center in Chicago, better known as the NOC, United's meteorologists monitor weather around the world 24/7. On this episode of Big Metal Bird, we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at what happens when winter weather hits, and meeting a few United team members who work in pre-planning and weather analysis, snow removal, baggage handling, and de-icing. Bundle up, this is gonna be a fun one.
Let's say a snowstorm is going to impact travel in and out of Denver International Airport. The NOC makes a call to this guy, Henry Bird. Okay, Henry, tell us what happens next.
Well, we make sure that we have the right stakeholders involved. We bring them together and we start understanding how the storm is going to impact our operation, and we start our planning from there.
So there's been times when I've had my flight impacted by weather, but it's a beautiful day outside. How does that happen?
Well, that's one of the toughest scenarios to really engage and really embrace our customers and tell them what's going on, because they're looking out, they're seeing sunshine, they're like, why aren't you flying? When the reality is there could be issues downline at their destination city, there could be issues en route, all while it still looks sunny and you're ready to go here. It certainly takes a village to make it work. You know, when an event ends and you've been able to minimize cancels and you've been able to keep people going to where they need to get to, that's a good feeling.
Henry.
Great video, and by the way, we cut it short. You can watch the rest online. So it's funny that he talks about Denver Airport being in the snowstorm, because I think it's actually happening today.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, and my peer Henry does say that does take a village, and a couple of our villagers are here with me today as well in the second row. But it is amazing. You know, technology now is just so embedded within our airline. You know, 15 years ago, you were still using paper tickets. There were paper tickets out there. Now that's not even an option. So we are required to be resilient, and as our CIO has said, it's just table stakes now. That's just the new norm. That's just like Ziv said. So
I think there's a couple of other initiatives in United you told me about that are kind of like looking at resilience as a company level, not only technology.
Sure. So one of the biggest ways that we want to expand our company is just growth of our network, and not routers and switches network, but where we fly planes, the frequency we fly planes, and the size of those planes. So we have a major strategy going on to expand our airline, and over the last year we've proved that to the street that we're actually growing, and with that growth only comes resiliency in different areas of the country. We are expanding our network to places like Cape Town, South Africa, Prague, ton of new destinations within the domestic footprint as well. So that's helping us there from a resiliency perspective.
Now we are in an IT conference, so let's talk about IT.
Okay.
Tell us about some of your initiatives inside IT, of kind of like the next generation of IT. How you guys? What's your vision for where you want to go?
Sure. So we have a huge digital transformation program going on right now. You know, thank you, Z, for showing your boarding pass on there. That's part of the new mobile application that we just launched in January. And if you haven't tried it, I highly encourage you to. It's, you know, one of the reasons I think we recently won a Webby Award was the reason we changed the application was to de-stress the experience for the customers. And so I think you'll find with our digital transformation journey, that is a major theme, whether that's with our customers, whether that's with our internal employees. There's applications our employees use that, you know, help with their interactions with customers. So it's all sort of interrelated, and de-stressing the customer is kind of one of our core functions there.
And you mentioned applications, like maybe give some people a scale of how many applications we're talking about. What's like IT for United?
Yeah, IT for United, let's see. We have almost 1,000 different applications in the arsenal, and it's funny when Ziv talked about, those are just the applications that we actually use, by the way, and within those applications are, hundreds of different functionalities, and it hit home when Ziv said, many companies have too many applications. We're one of those, right? We have so many good tools in the arsenal, but being able to leverage those and to their full capability is one of our challenges. But it's a huge footprint at United.
Now, more specifically about cloud. Let's talk about cloud. I know you guys are looking into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, when we started our cloud journey, we were sort of taking an all-in, everything's going, lift and shift it up there, build new up there, very exciting. And, a couple lessons learned, we that strategy didn't quite work for us. And so now we're taking more of an approach of what makes sense to go to the cloud, right? The cloud, just like Ziv was talking about, is huge opportunity. We're looking at hybrid cloud opportunities. We're looking at software-defined data centers. But when we talk about public cloud, it's really what makes sense to go up there. We have a ton of applications that require burstability. So one of the examples in the video was irregular operations, and there's a ton of applications just around that. And so leveraging the cloud is probably a good solution, both economically and functionally for us. So those are things we're sort of taking a smarter approach to cloud these days.
Any other things, like you mentioned some lesson learned about the cloud? Any other kind of like specifically on the cloud things that you want to give the audience some tips?
Yeah, I think I'm going to quote our CIO here. She's very big at taking a risk and failing fast. So if it's okay to take the risk, but if you see it's not working, fail fast, move on, and change your strategy, right? And so I think that's one of our key philosophies that we use within United, quite frankly, not only within IT, but within the company. And then something specifically within IT, whether it's cloud or otherwise, is just kind of testing, right? So test. And now that resiliency and reliability is just table stakes, testing is so important. So we've even expanded our testing footprint as well.
Let's go closer to home here. So you guys are Zerto customers. What brought you to Zerto, and what type of use cases you guys are using Zerto for?
Sure. So initially we were looking at Zerto for sort of your traditional disaster recovery replication application. And in our shop, we were both Hyper-V and VMware. And so that was one of the strategic reasons why we chose Zerto. And now we're looking at it for expanding our disaster recovery program. There's data center migration opportunities, considering the backup services here as well, since it's all interrelated, and just continuing on the relationship with Zerto. I think, Ziv spent a lot of time on our planes. That's certainly the case, but Ziv, Gil, Rob, everybody's been very, very active with the United account, and I think that's another reason why we continue to expand our relationship with Zerto, is because of the relationships that have been built, and you guys are extremely responsive when we have things we want changed and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and thank you for that, because United is, as Ziv said, is definitely pushing the envelope and got us to some places where we weren't there before, and where this was a true partnership of going there together.
Absolutely.
Ziv talked about the vision of converging DR backup, not seeing them as different tools in the future. Does that sound right to you?
It hits home, right? I think backups are very critical. I kind of laughed at his legal example because we have those all the time. But they're all completely interrelated, and to converge all of these into one tool would be extremely helpful for companies like ourselves, who we have the traditional disaster recovery examples. We have your traditional backup, but the easiness and cohesiveness in one tool is definitely something we're looking to explore.
Okay, perfect. Any kind of like last words to the audience? Anything you want them to be aware of, or do or not do?
Very interesting. No, look, I think, again, I can't state enough that the people at Zerto are why, the main reason why we continue to expand this relationship. The people at Zerto are wonderful, extremely responsive, and have been, quite frankly, holding our hand through our disaster recovery journey, which has been extremely helpful. So thank you.
So thanks again a lot for being here. Let's get a round of applause. And back to you, Ziv.
Thank you, Julieta. Appreciate the confidence you put in us. Appreciate the partnership. Now, like United, we talk to many customers. We talk to new customers that just started using us. And we talk to some of the veterans who have been using us for many years now. Like we said, you're all in this state of change. And that pace of change just continues to accelerate as we move forward. It changes the way we do business. It changes the way that we all add value to our customers. We morph our business processes. We morph them to adapt to the way that our customers want them. Anytime, anywhere, on-demand access to everything. And like that, we're seeing many traditional businesses that are moving to a more on-demand business model. And I want to make an announcement here, because there is something that you have asked over the years, we have listened, and we have introduced a subscription, term-based license option. So now you can consume Zerto either as perpetual or as a term-based license. And how do you make that decision? Make that decision based on the way that your company prefers to do business. Whether you are a partner or a customer, I am sure that this will add flexibility to doing more business with us. And we love getting this feedback. We listen to this feedback. Keep this feedback coming, please. Now we want to hear more, and we want to hear not just from the Zerto customers, but from other companies who are not yet Zerto customers. So this year we've partnered with IDC for the second year to create a second annual State of IT Resilience. We will have tomorrow Phil Goodwin from IDC. He will share the results and the details of this survey. I can guarantee it will be interesting. Now I don't want to steal his thunder, but one thing which is not going to come as a surprise to anyone here is that a major theme, a major recurring theme there, is that customers, enterprises everywhere are on a cloud journey. We know cloud is big, but what is cloud? Right, I mean, you all remember 5 years ago, cloud was very simple. We just take everything, we throw it into the cloud. It will work better, it will work cheaper, it will not require any maintenance. Now, that sounds very simple, sounds very good. That is not the way it goes. Cloud takes, like I said, a hybrid approach. You use that approach with multiple cloud, but it's happening, right? We're already seeing that in the survey. For example, in the resiliency, 45% of the companies that were surveyed were using the cloud for some part of their data protection, of their disaster recovery. But even more important, out of these 45%, 61% are reducing their spend on that because they use the cloud. So this is exactly what we see with the Zerto customers. Data protection, disaster recovery are great steps to start adopting the cloud. And if you do them correctly, they can make great economic sense and make your CFOs happy. So cloud has many shapes, many forms, and there are many variations in how different companies use the cloud. And I would like to invite our next panel here to actually hear from the industry leaders, from some of our cloud partners, how they use the cloud, how they give the cloud to their customers. So please welcome to the stage Lindsay from Microsoft, Sumit from Navisite, and Dante from Island. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you guys. They will be interviewed by our newly appointed Vice President of Worldwide Cloud and Channel, Jim Ortwells.
Well, this is good. They gave me a couple more minutes to talk. No, you guys don't want to hear from me, but I'd like to do some introductions just before we get started here, because we have 3 different companies that represent essentially 3 different ways that you can go to market: public cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud. So Sumit, would you like to go first? Just make a quick introduction and Navisite, and then Lindsay and Dante.
Thank you, Jim. I'm Sumit Sabharwal. I run Navisite. Navisite's a managed services provider. We work with enterprises both to do all the heavy lifting of getting them to the cloud and then managing the workloads, particularly with resiliency being a top of mind ask and focus for us. So our partnership with Zerto has gone long. Over the last 5 years, we've really worked closely with them to bring all aspects of that into our managed offering.
Great. So my name's Lindsay Swart. I'm the GM for Azure in the US market. Really looking after our sales, go-to-market operations, and anything that has to do with our public cloud, as well as looking after our traditional on-premise server and tools business with Windows Server, SQL Server, and Dev Tools. And thanks for having me.
Morning, ZertoCON. Woo, my name's Dante Orsini. I run business development at Island, and with Zerto's help, we've been around since the beginning, and together we've built the cloud platform for resilient businesses, and excited to chat today.
Great. Well, thank you. All right. So enterprise IT is moving to the cloud, and there's a lot of different flavors as you look at that. How do you see the state of adoption today? And maybe Dante, we'll go back this way?
Sure. So, from our perspective, we've been in this space for over a decade now, and it's amazing how much has changed, right? Just hearing what Juliet said earlier, right? From our perspective in the beginning, everything we did was managed, right? Because the platforms really weren't there to drive self-service from a DR perspective. And as time has went on, with the help of Zerto, we've been able to integrate that technology directly into the platform. And I think the challenge that we all share is how can we take the mentality of resiliency and drive it across the entire business, right? So to do that, you need to have great visibility, great orchestration, but there's also a people component that we find most organizations are challenged with, right? So changing that culture has been critical. And I think that the leaders that we see in this space realize that they're only as good as their last test, right? So understanding the ability to actually drive that level of orchestration from a testing perspective into the overall platform and go beyond just, hey, did this environment come up? Now it's about, did that environment come up and how well is it performing, right? So we've really been focused on how can we actually make that easier on our customers so it becomes automagic, right? And then we take a look at the result of that and then begin to triage from there. So we're seeing there's a lot of folks on that continuum that are trying to get there, right? But I think the key is just to start.
Great. Now, Lindsay, from a Microsoft perspective, it looks a little different. So you could look a little different. How do you see some of the challenges in adoption or, the adoption overall?
Yeah, great. So let me start with, we've had phenomenal success with regards to our Azure growth, 161%. So if any of you are Microsoft shareholders, you're welcome. Azure really has helped grow our share price, but we are seeing a bit of a shift with regards to adoption. So 84% of our customers want a hybrid solution. And it really does depend on the maturity of your customers, where they're at with regards to their investment in their data centers, the shift that they want to move. We're finding newer customers quicker to the cloud. Obviously, they don't have the legacy infrastructure that they have. We're also seeing a lot of our customers wanting to do a multi-cloud strategy. So really balancing the risk and then also the services and features and functions available across different public cloud providers. And so it really is this balanced shift. And then it's also around skill sets, developer capabilities, and application migrations that we're seeing slower to drive to the cloud. So you have this want and passion to move to the cloud and leverage everything that's available, and then the realities of actually moving to the cloud when our customers want to. And so how do we help them shift with our partners moving across into public cloud?
Great. Sumit?
So as someone that really has the privilege of working very closely with both Microsoft on the Azure side and Zerto, it's tremendous to see that adoption is happening, though it's much more nuanced. It's a hybrid world, and for a lot of you out there are a lot of key considerations, right? One is, what's the right approach to take, and particularly as you look at the traditional applications, there's the 5 R's between retire, re-platform, rehost, hopefully not retain is not the answer, do nothing is not the answer there, but it's what's the right approach that's pragmatic, and in that context, really bringing resiliency in that equation as something that's a must-have and a real tactical enabler to drive broader adoption to the cloud. I think the second aspect is, sort of what is the approach you take and what is the underlying model, private, public cloud. There's a myriad of options. I look at this as a journey, and there's not a destination, but a continuum of those and a constant movement. So having a very dynamic posture, and so key and core to that is having the right blueprint and end game in mind. So for a lot of our clients where we get it right, that's where we've done a lot of the work in helping them establish that long-term roadmap and blueprint. So there is structure to that approach, and they're approaching the broad portfolio. United is a great example, 1,000 workloads, and that's typically in an enterprise, right, where you've got a lot of legacy workloads. Having a structured and a tiered approach there becomes key and critical.
Great, well, thank you. So as IT, more and more workloads move to the cloud, how do you see IT resilience really start to evolve as it relates to the cloud? The theme here is resilience, and that's a key tenet of everything that we do at Zerto. How do you see that evolving as more and more workloads move to the clouds? Lindsay, would you mind going first here?
Yeah, I can start. Of course, from our perspective, resiliency is key. Having that always on, reliable service is critical, and it's something that every single one of our customers ask for. And then as it starts to get down to the application layer and what those apps are being used for, you're starting to see that latency requirement being reduced significantly. And so how do we, from a Microsoft perspective, partner with an organization like Zerto to make sure that our customers have that zero downtime? If you look at some customers that we're working with at the moment in the gaming industry, for example, zero downtime. And so how do you deliver that consistent service to our end customers? Again, which is why Microsoft forms these types of relationships with Zerto to ensure that we have that balance between the public cloud and then having that ability to be always on and delivering our customers' expected requirements.
Great. And Sumeet?
I think, look, every business now is a technology-led business, right? Which means that all enterprises are digital enterprises, but that also brings up the problem that data is everywhere, and you've got data silos and proliferation of that between the end user side and the core IT estate. So the future of resilience for us is one where we're able to bring a unified view across all of those silos of data with an increased focus on analytics, right? We all talk about getting to the predictive future where, you're able to kind of not react, but be on the proactive side of predicting when outages happen. That really means improved analytics as well. The third key dimension certainly is mobility and being able to, in a multi-cloud world, enable us with the ability to have the freedom to move workloads across the public clouds, certainly hopefully more into Azure than out of Azure, but really having the freedom and agility to go. And the fourth, often aspect that isn't spoken about as much as security, right? So how do we bring better data protection, but also integrated security, a richer pane of threat intelligence that's married with the data and that's really layered on top in a much more integrated manner. We see tremendous runway and room on that front as well.
Great, thanks. And Dante?
Yeah, I love both the comments, by the way, because you set me up wonderfully. Thank you. No, I think from our perspective, we realize it's a multi-cloud world. The challenge is how in the world do you get there, right? Functionally, if you're talking about building next-generation cloud, applications, arguably you're not thinking about resiliency because it's built into the application layer, not in the traditional sense, right? So now it becomes, what can you do to make sure that you can stitch all this together from a network perspective? Right? And that's where all the magic happens. We're very lucky to be working with Zerto to have all that automation and orchestration, but when you start to look at multi-cloud, yes, people talk about moving workloads back and forth. How many sysadmins in here are gonna move from Azure to AWS because there's an arbitrage opportunity of like a nickel? Nobody, right? But if you're-
Thank you.
Yeah. However, my point being, right, is that we know that people are going to have workloads in various different public clouds, right? So being able to understand how you're going to stitch all this together so you have a comprehensive resiliency strategy, that's where you really need to focus your time and your efforts. That's where we put a lot of the development time at iLand to make sure that we can make that work. But I think the other thing that I think Samit hit on earlier, right, is understanding what your roadmap is, how you're going to get there. So a couple years ago, our team developed a cloud assessment app. This is free. Our customers leverage it, our partners leverage it. But the idea is to help a customer sit down, evaluate their workloads, and come up with various different models. Whether they're looking to, move them offsite for backup purposes, trying to replicate for DR, even lift and shift for production workloads, right? Give them the tools to model these things, but also analyze what's happening from a network perspective to make sure that it's actually feasible, so they can actually achieve it, right? So to me, depending on where you are, it's always good to take a look at where you want to be, as Samit said, and more importantly, how fast can a provider help you get there? That's the key.
Great, thank you. So, to up-level it a little bit, actually, when my kids ask me what I do, I got 3 little ones, I work in the cloud. And, I think all our kids now, it's so synonymous with, okay, that's where stuff resides. They just go, information's instantaneous. But you think back to when we were their age, shoot, we didn't, many of us didn't have cable television. So, and wireless phones and all that. But, just as you see the cloud evolving, where do you see it evolving to? We just talked about resilience, but where do you see it evolving? Because in a very short period of time, we went from, just maybe having hosted apps, hosted UC, and now people are hosting mission critical beyond just voice to critical applications like what Juliet just talked about from United in the cloud. Where do you see the evolution of cloud moving to just overall? Samit, do you want to take this?
We see tremendous runway, right? When you think about just at the end of the day, right now, we talk about, despite all the hype, right? I have to keep reminding myself that 70% of the workloads are still captive, right? So while it may feel like with the incredible growth rates that Lindsay mentioned in Azure, we're only getting started, right? There's a tremendous runway in taking a lot of applications that haven't seen the light of day, and not all of them are going to get there, right? And not all of them should get there, but transforming them and getting them to the public cloud. And then there's an increasing level of abstraction on top. I think the whole notion of resiliency, being much more abstract, right? When you think about today, we have to almost know where the data is to go protect the data, but being able to, aggregate the data in the cloud, it becomes a lot easier to marry richer analytics to get a path to predictive. I think when you start to think about all of those things, the net of it is that all of us start to work at a very different level of abstraction. Us as the service providers, and the value we can unlock both in bringing access to your curated stack that helps you get to a better posture, helps you unify that estate, helps you secure that estate, but from your possibilities of really innovating at a faster pace and unlocking more value, right? At the end of the day, the cloud is only good as what you're able to do in terms of new business and revenue streams from it. So our focus always is outside in to say, how do we unlock greater agility with our customers? And that means getting them to a higher level of abstraction in their working.
Great. Dante?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we're really looking at the power of that data, just like everyone in the audience, right? I mean, Zeev said it earlier. I mean, it is the most crucial strategic asset, right? So we really need to continue to push the envelope and innovate as a community. We know that recovery and resiliency are not easy, but when you start to look at what we can do with Zerto's API and starting to combine that with all sorts of other APIs and make this programmatic, and again, work on that people side of it, build it into the actual application structure, you're going to see a whole new world here in the next couple of years, right? So we're already seeing that today, running all the analytics on the platforms that we have today, being able to make better decisions, give our customers better insight, and to be able to react much quicker and make it, again, more automated and orchestrated.
Great. Lindsay?
Yeah, so thank you. You guys kind of lined me up perfectly. We're absolutely starting to see this shift from the pure complete compute storage, networking, VM layer into the layer of how do we really mine the analytical data and start to get some smarts out of it. And so you're both spot on. Data is absolutely going to be king. It's also not just the data that we have within the applications within our infrastructure, but it's mining that data out at the edge. It's using your collection devices such as Azure Sphere to pull in the data analytical information from your oil rigs or your e-conditioning systems or your security systems. And how do we bring all of that data into a central repository and then utilize all of the analytical modern data warehousing systems that we have to transform your business, to enable smarter customer service delivery, to enable faster go-to-market, to better, start delivering on what really is going to be business transformational for you, how you can take your business to the next level. And so data is the heart of everything as we start getting smarter about our public cloud usage.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So, just to close out here, yesterday we had a cloud and channel session where a lot of you that were our partners of ours came into the audience. We had somebody from Forrester there, and he was up there and he spoke a little bit about some of the work that they've done looking at enterprises across the world. And roughly, I think the number he threw out, that 18% of those enterprises surveyed felt they had a strong policy in place for data protection, backup, and resiliency. And when you think about that, that's pretty telling. We're still at the front end of this journey, so I think we have a lot of users, we have partners, we have some providers in the audience here. So 82% of the market out there really doesn't feel like they have a strong plan in place yet. And I think that's a real opportunity. And hopefully you take away from here today, between what everybody's talked about, is certainly the cloud plays a big role in that. But just moving into the cloud doesn't mean that your stuff is, it's perfect. You have to protect it. And we think we've got great solutions across a variety of different ways to consume that. And Zeev's going to continue to talk a little bit about more where we're going. So thank you very much to our panel here. We appreciate the time. Zeev, we'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Sumit. Thank you, Dante. Thank you, Jim, for telling us a little bit more about the future of cloud. And we appreciate the partnership and looking forward to do more over the next several years. We do see a lot of resilience in our partners, in our ecosystems. We have more than 250 partners here at ZertoCON. We have cloud service providers like Expedient, TierPoint, US Signal, SunGard, channel partners like Presidio, Stereos, Technologent, and technology alliance partners like Microsoft, like HPE, like IBM, like Pivot3. And that's a great opportunity here. Use this opportunity in ZertoCON, not just to go to the Zerto sessions and connect with the Zerto people, but also with our partners. Visit them at the Z-Connect hall in the booths and work with them, because over the last years and going forward, we've really deepened that relationship. And what does that mean for you? That means more choice. More choice for you, more choice for our customers. We've deepened some of these relationships. For example, we have achieved silver partner status with CDW and with SoftChoice. We have joined the Insight Emerging Partner Program, right? So really continuing to get deeper with the partners. We also work with many national leading partners to create specific offerings, unique offerings, joint offerings between Zerto and that partner. So really to provide you guys something better, a better solution for your needs. For example, this year we've partnered with our Gold Partner Sirius and with Microsoft to create the Sirius Cloud Go program. What does that mean? That means that they use Zerto as part of their world-class migration capabilities, and they do it together with Microsoft to get customers and prospects quicker and safer into Azure. And we promise to continue to build more programs like that with more partners, so you all will get a better choice, and you will all have better solutions for your needs. We also see the Zerto cloud service providers. They continue to grow, and I'm really happy this year to welcome to our platinum partners there a new entrant, that is Navisite. Please give them an applause. They join our partners that already made this platinum status, like Island, Exponential E, Flexential, TierPoint, and Expedient. And together, we see that business growing. We see us solving more use cases for more customers in a better way. I also want to welcome a new provider that just joined our cloud service provider program, and I'm talking about Rackspace. We added them, and as we continue to grow, we continue and we are committed to working with all the leaders in the cloud service providers, work with everyone. And you can see, for example, in some of the reports, in the Forrester Wave and the Gartner Magic Quadrant, right? So we have all of the providers this year in the Forrester Wave are already working with Zerto, and almost all the ones in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So you have more choice. Now, yesterday, before the show, we had a partner day, and in that day, we also had the IT Resilience Awards for the Cloud Service Provider of the Year and the Channel Partner of the Year. So for our Cloud Service Provider of the Year, I want to congratulate Island for being our 2019 Cloud Service Provider of the Year. We are reaching new heights together, and in the last year, we've grown our protected footprint in Island by more than 70% just last year. And this doesn't stop, because they continue to expand and they continue to build more data centers globally to provide solutions for more customers. So thank you, Island, for your support. I also want to congratulate our Channel Partner of the Year for this year. I'd like to congratulate Ahead. Please give them an applause, Ahead. Ahead had an amazing year, 2019. They both got into new accounts, and they had great growth in existing accounts. They even have a couple of notable customers that came over here, like United Airlines, which you spoke to, and with University of Wisconsin Healthcare and Clinics. And with everything, with the new customers, existing customers, they were able last year to grow the business together by over 200%. So let's talk now about our technology partners. Let's talk about Microsoft. This is a strategic partnership with Microsoft. Together, we let customers protect, manage, and migrate their workloads between on-premise and Azure. And in the last year, Zerto became one of the top 5 ISVs working with Microsoft. What does that mean? That means tens of thousands of VMs that are moving into Azure, into the public cloud. We also introduced the Azure Labs and the certification. So now we have more than 700 IT professionals trained on Zerto and Azure. And if you have not checked it out, this is in the labs here. You can check it out in the labs here at ZertoCON or at any time from MyZerto. So there are training classes, and we can do more. And even tomorrow, you will hear more from Lindsay in her keynote. Let's talk about HPE. We've integrated with our server and their storage division. So now we can offer customers a complete end-to-end solution for the joint Zerto and HPE customers. If you're working with HPE servers, 3PAR, Nimble, MSA, StoreOnce, their hybrid IT, then you can use Zerto as part of your HPE solution. Zerto is one of only 21 global partners in the HPE Complete program. So if you use HPE, please talk to your account team and ask them how we can do more stuff with Zerto. And looking forward to continue to grow that relationship with HPE in 2019 as well. Let's talk about Exagrid. We continue to build a very tight partnership there. And we're not talking about interoperability within Exagrid, because we've had that, but really talking about a solution that focuses on performance, focuses on scale, and really building a future-proof solution for your long-term retention. This is taking the Zerto 7 Elastic Journal and the Exagrid data deduplication capabilities and really let you greatly reduce the amount of storage that is required for your long-term retention. What does this let you do? It lets you control the cost, it lets you reduce the cost, and creates this winning combination for our joint customers. I also want to talk about another strategic partnership that just became even stronger. And I'm talking about VMware. And I'm happy to tell you that Zerto has now joined the VMware VAIO program. What does that mean? That means tighter integration with VMware. It means more use cases that we can cover together with VMware. Really expand everything that we do. And you can hear about it more tomorrow. Rob Strechay, our Senior Vice President of Products, has his keynote, and he will talk about it together with Mike Adams from VMware. So, partners. Partners are important. We team with our partners to create a better, unique solution for our customers, so each one can have the solution that is tailored to their specific needs. I believe we have a world-class partner organization, and like I said, please take the time to meet the partners, to visit the booth, and if you want, you can ask any Zerto person to connect you with any of our channel partners, our cloud service provider partners, or our technology partners. We believe in these partnerships, and you are amazing partners. Thank you, partners. So we are here in Nashville. What is Nashville known for? It's known for music. It's known for having fun, having a good time. But I want to tell you about something else, which is actually, that's my first time having the music and good time in Nashville, but it's my third time in Nashville, because it is also the home of one very impressive company. It is one of our largest customers. It is number 63 on the Fortune 500 list. And they take resiliency very seriously. I'm talking about HCA, and really honored to give my second IT Resilience Award for 2019 to HCA. Please welcome Joshua and Ed from HCA to receive the award. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Come on. Let's, oh, this, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
And please welcome Carolyn Seymour, our Vice President of Product Marketing, to sit and talk with HCA and hear about their journey. Thank you.
So Ed and Josh, thank you very much for joining us today, and welcome and congratulations on this well-deserved reward. So what I'd like to talk about really is your resilience journey. And when I think about healthcare, and specifically HCA, as Ziv said, in the fact that you're a very large health provider, and in fact you've got, what was it, 80,000 nurses and 40,000 physicians. I think about patient care, and you have about 28 million patient admissions a year. And when you look at that, you know, I think that resilience is absolutely critical, because it may sound a bit dramatic, but it feels like sort of it's very much between life and death. It can be. And resilience is a key part of that. Can you share how you deal with resilience at HCA?
Sure. So I'll have to say that that's not an overstated thing about the life and death. The HCA mission says, you know, we're above all else we're here for supportive human life.
Yeah.
And so for our systems to be resilient, it's key for our doctors and nurses to do their jobs, but most importantly, it's the patients, it's your family members, it's yourselves who are in our care while you're in our hospitals. And so for us, having the IT systems available for the support of the applications and in turn the patients is paramount importance.
What about from your perspective?
Well, I mean, and Ed said it well, it's also, it's not just about the patient care, but it's also about the availability of the data in the system. So for us, resilience is extremely important. We've got to have our systems available, not just at the bedside, but for the physicians to be able to do their work when they've left the patient bedside, but all throughout the continuum of care. So it's one of the most extremely important aspects of what we deliver from an IT perspective.
Yeah, because I see, and I'm sure everybody in the audience see too, in the fact that as we go to the doctors, everything's now online and no more taking notes. They bring their iPads and that sort of thing. So as I think about, we've talked a lot about digital transformation here, and I think that every industry is going through some level of digitization. And I think healthcare and at HCA, it's no different. And you've got, I know, some big initiatives that you're driving from a digital transformation perspective. And I know when we were talking, Josh, about the fact that you see some major shifts as well that's actually happening. So maybe first we could start with talking about some of the transformation initiatives that you have in place. Maybe you could start here, Ed.
Well, let me jump in. I mean, if you think about the hospital room, it's very different now than it was, say, 10 years ago, right? I mean, if you go into a hospital room 10 years ago, there was probably a computer over in the corner somewhere, and the nurse would see the patient, and then they'd go do some stuff on the computer and maybe ask questions and go back to the computer.
They had patient notes at the end of the bed, didn't
Right, or they had a noteboard at the end of the bed, and nowadays it's all done on the mobile devices, and so we've got a lot of initiatives around really getting the physicians and clinicians' hands off of the keyboards so that they can put those hands on the patients as needed or deliver the care that's needed for our patients.
Yeah, and building on that, data analytics is very important to us as well. So we've had a recent, very publicized thing around sepsis prevention. So using data that we see in the hospital to identify factors that could lead to septic infection, and leveraging the data, we're able to identify those factors and try and start the treatment for that earlier, which, as with just about any healthcare treatment, the earlier identification of the concern is quicker resolution.
And that's sort of adding machine learning into the analytics and driving intelligence from that as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Data analytics. You wouldn't think this, but again, obviously resilience at the bedside is extremely important. But for us to be able to predict sepsis, as Ed was pointing out, we've got to have resilience for our data analytics systems, which prior to this most recent digital transformation, those were always back office systems that you learned something from, and then you took action later. Well, we're learning something from them and taking action immediately based upon that data and based upon what's changing. So,
and of course, better patient care at the end of it, isn't it?
Yeah, we're IT, and so I've been with HCA for about 15 years, and when I first started, IT was kind of in a role of business support. So we were there to make sure that everything was running on the back end, but over the last 15 years that I've been there, we see IT moving more to business enablement through the additional applications and the data and all that we're able to provide closer to the hands of the doctors and nurses who are caring for the patients.
Excellent. And then, of course, we've had a lot of discussion around cloud with our vendors, and also United earlier too. And I know from an HCA perspective, you've been going down the cloud journey for some time. And so can you share where you're at and where you see perhaps cloud taking you and what innovation it brings to HCA?
Yeah, so Zerto has been a big part of our cloud journey, and we talk about cloud in a lot of different ways. The previous panel talked about on-prem, private cloud, public cloud, multi-cloud, but one of the things that we've been trying to do is get a really consistent infrastructure that would lead to more predictable results, better availability, et cetera. And our private cloud journey has done just that for us. And we've been able to take workloads that were in multiple different locations and really put them on a consistent framework framework, and then provide a DR type of a service within those workloads. And so that's just one part of our cloud journey, is how we've adopted those processes. But one of the things that we've realized probably over the last 5 years, and I know there's folks from our business continuity and disaster recovery teams here in the audience, is it has become a key part of everything that we deliver. Whereas I think maybe in the 10-year ago time frame, it was not an afterthought, but it was something that you did after. You went ahead and you implemented the product because the most important thing was speed to market for the application. Well, if today you're implementing only based on speed to market and you're not planning resiliency into that delivery, then you're making a big mistake, especially because most applications that are being delivered today are not being delivered in a way that they can, go offline or be down for, 5 minutes or even 10 minutes, let alone 4 hours, 8 hours, or a full day.
Goes back to your high availability again, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's some other aspects of the cloud journey. It was mentioned, data protection. I think there's ways that all different kinds of companies can take advantage of the ability to maybe shift some of the data out to the cloud for resiliency. Again, I love to hear the panel up here before talking about how resiliency was key, because the last thing we would do is go take important patient data or even business data and move it to a cloud service if that was not going to be a resilient service.
Right. Right. I know we're running a little short on time, so I was wondering whether you could provide this audience with some maybe lessons learned that, or sort of shared experience that you would like to give this audience as they journey through resilience and what you've seen through your journey.
Sure. For us, it's not an uncommon thing for an application to go from just POC to all of a sudden mission critical.
Right.
And so for just make sure that you're thinking ahead, planning ahead, not just once you get to the place in your journey where the application is becoming more meaningful, because that can happen in an instant. So as you're starting those POCs, make sure you're thinking through your data protection, data resilience. What does your application look like in the event of a disaster? How do you protect the data from things like ransomware? So just be forward thinking.
Forward thinking, great.
Yeah, I would add, I think, be cautious about or thoughtful about the platforms that you deploy. The more consistent your footprint, the better chance you're going to have at success. And I think the tough part about business needs or application needs is they can require a large swath of different infrastructure deployments. But if you've got some standards that you can deploy, and then again, you can plan and make sure that resilience is a part of that deployment, that will up your success rate tremendously.
Great. Well, I really appreciate the time, you taking the time to share your journey, and I'm sure everybody here has enjoyed that, and we really appreciate your partnership, because I think it is a partnership between Zerto and HCA, and I look forward to a long journey and a long successful partnership as you continue your journey through building out resilience in your organization. So thank you so much, and congratulations again. And now I'd like to pass back over to Zeev.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Ed. Really looking forward to continue working together over the next several years. So, just like HCA, just like United, just like our partners, just like our ecosystem, we have big plans in Zerto. Because the IT resilience journey, it is just starting. The future of backup journey, it's only starting. We have a great team here. Why? Because we're all a team. We have you as customers and partners to team with and to get there. So where are we going in Zerto? IT resilience, as you know, is where we are going. And Zerto 7 is a major step forward in that journey. So let's look again at Zerto 7. What is Zerto 7? I view Zerto 7 as really this new paradigm. This paradigm that says that we can use a continuous journal-based technology, and that's important, a continuous journal-based technology to protect everything in IT. This takes our ability to track I/O continuously. It adds our capabilities around networking, around data transfer. and takes our journal that enables recovery to any point in time. And then it takes this and adds the additional capability to really store these points in time from the journal in an efficient way for a very long time, for this long-term retention. Store them in the right repositories and keep them. So it solves many use cases. It solves the real-time, high-end protection for applications, the resume from disaster use case. It solves the backup use case, to restore an application from anything. It can be from an error, from a hacker, or anything else that breaks the application. But guess what? It does it with only seconds of granularity, not hours or days like traditional backup products. It also lets us store these things in repositories for the long term, solving our compliance and discovery and data retention use case. And it also solves the migration use case across geographies, across data centers, and across clouds. And it solves all these use cases with these capabilities. Our control, our automation, our orchestration, and analytics that you are used to get from Zerto. So, what do we get here? What does that mean for us? This is a real end-to-end platform for IT resilience. And why is that important? I'll share another finding from our IDC survey. 93.4% of the users surveyed by IDC want to get this convergence. They want to converge disaster recovery, they want to converge backup, they want to converge migrations, they want to converge the hybrid cloud. So now we have it. It eliminates the redundancy. There is no question why you would want to eliminate this redundancy. Why? It just makes sense. So Zerto 7, only released last month, it is already getting great reviews from our customers. And this is a game changer. This is a big release. Now, you came here for a reason. You came here because you know how we deliver over the long term on our promises. So take the leap. Try Zerto 7 out. You will see how it makes things more simple. You will see how it makes your legacy backup redundant. And this is only the beginning. So I mentioned before Rob's keynote tomorrow, Rob's product keynote. He will share with you a lot of details. It will be interesting, and believe me, you want to be there. So in Zerto, we have a mission. We have a mission to build a world of uninterrupted technology. That's a long journey. It's not an easy task. It's a journey that we will take together. But you know us at Zerto, what we like to do is take these tough and complex issues and make them more simple. We're on a mission to help you evolve your business, to be more agile, to go into the cloud, to go into many clouds, to go on demand, to provide new products, to deliver new services. You heard it from United, you heard it from our HCA, you heard it from our partners. That future is big, and resilience is key to get there. So let's be resilient together. Welcome to Resilience Country. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for joining us on our journey. And welcome to ZertoCON 2019.